Domestic violence on its own is a long-standing issue being tackled on many fronts. Still, it persists. The HIV/AIDS virus, too, is being tackled on many fronts, but with challenges such as discrimination, the battle rages on. And the catastrophic combination of these two could pose a threat to the United Nations goal of ending contraction of the virus by the year 2030.
Many times people sit out there and they judge people living with HIV. How you know you have the virus and you don't go to the doctor and you don't take your medication? But there is so much more happening in people's lives that you'd be surprised to know this HIV that you take as the big thing becomes minor to all the other challenges that they are trying to cope with.
Challenges like the fear of one's spouse, knowing that resistance could be met with physical and other abuse, making it easy for the abuser to use forced or coerced intercourse, unprotected at that. Domestic violence generally makes negotiation during intercourse difficult or non-existent. It's often cloaked in the idea of a woman being a man's property instead of his beloved in need of his protection.
The cultural norms about what it means to be man or woman, the cultural beliefs that continues to say, you are in charge. As the man, you are supposed to take charge, and if the woman does anything out of line, you are supposed to put her in place.
And our society propels these ideas further when we victim blame, putting the burden of responsibility on those on the receiving end of the abuse.
We don't have a supportive society when it comes to these issues of domestic violence. One of the first things is asked in numerous cases is what you do. Why you don't make the man lick you? This is a frequent question in instances people have gone to the police to make reports and the question is asked. They have gone to health facilities to seek health care for the injuries suffered during the violent attack. And they have been asked these questions. So there's always the victim blaming, and because of that many people hide it. They don't talk about it. They don't say that they have experienced this.
And an abusive partner knows this and further exerts control by restricting access to medical care, including HIV testing and medication, which could reduce the risk of infection.
And they stay there with injuries that are life-threatening because how am I going to explain how I got this injury? How am I going to explain they're going to think I'm not some women may think they're not going to think I'm not a good woman, I'm not a good wife. Why did the man have to abuse me?
And abuse is not always physical. Many times it's psychological or even from the standpoint of economic dependence. This is when the partner with financial control prevents their victim from leaving an abusive relationship by exerting this fact, trapping them in a situation where they are continuously dependent and exposed to further abuse and the risk of contracting HIV.
Many times people reduce violence to the physical, sexual, but there is emotional, there is financial, there is neglect, there is all these ones. And many times it is the economic disparity between the two that makes people more susceptible to these forms of violence. You find that many persons who experience violence are dependent on the abuser. They are dependent on the abuser for their own survival. They are dependent on the abuser for the survival of their children. They are dependent on the abuser for the survival of the extended family. And because of that, many times they remain in the abusive situation, and this level of economic dependence increases their vulnerability to both violence and HIV.
And one who exerts physical and economic dominance may seek further control by causing isolation. When there's isolation, people may become unaware, and a lack of awareness and education may cause victims to not have access to information about HIV prevention.
When they feel they are out of options, they stay away. And this staying away may mean staying away from work, staying away from their social circles, staying away from needed health care. This is one of the causes where people living with HIV who are experiencing domestic violence end up drop out of care.
This is where the Jamaica AIDS Support for Life comes in, working with victims and giving them much needed support.
We provide a suite of services. We provide what we call holistic care. It's not just about treating the HIV virus, but we provide psychosocial support. We have full-time psychologists on staff that we make accessible to our clients. We have social workers who may assess their needs. Basic, it may be basic food, basic survival. It may be to help with job placement. It may be some sort of economic support. It may be some sort of income generating grant. We look at the whole man, whatever it takes to help, and we provide the legal support most of all. If it means that we have to go to court in helping these persons to get out of their situation, if we have to connect them to some form of shelter, whatever it is that is needed to get people in care. HIV is just one aspect of their life. It is just an illness, like any other illness. So if you think you're just going to focus on that and ignore all the other areas of their lives, you're going to have little or no success. Simply put, in Jamaica, them say you can't take pill on hungry belly. So just consider someone who don't even have food to eat. And you may be looking from the other side of the fence and say why they don't take their medication, but they don't even have food to eat. And right now, their primary concern is where the next meal is coming from, or where the meal is coming from, as opposed to whether or not I'm going to go seek care and take medication. So we have to take a holistic approach to helping people who are survivors of domestic violence and also those living with HIV.